Commissioner Mescali is absent, and he notified us in advance. Commissioner Fleischer.
Present.
Vice Chair O'Carroll.
Present.
And Chair Williams.
Present. Great. May we all stand?
Hold on 1 minute. In the AV room, can you please display on the big screen? Sorry, it should be the meeting. Here it comes. Okay, there we go. Well, I can't display it on the screen, but 4 members are present. Okay.
All right. Can we all stand to do the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I ask if we have any public comment, items not on the agenda?
No, we don't.
Thank you. May I also ask if we have receipt of correspondence?
No, we don't.
Great. So I'm going to begin with the consent calendar items. And approval of the minutes of the special meeting of May 23rd, 2024. Does anybody have any corrections, revisions, changes?
We do. Note some changes submitted earlier from Commissioner Fleischer, notably in the first paragraph of page 3 of 6 of the May minutes. The use used by most performing arts seasons is to be changed to is common with most performing arts seasons.
Any other corrections or changes?
That's all we have.
Great. Then
So the motion would be to approve as amended.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of May 23, 2024, as amended.
Is it on your screen? I guess not.
Sure.
Is it? Oh, yes, okay. So moved by Chair Williams, seconded by Commissioner Fleischer. Please start voting on your screen, if you can. You don't have one? Okay. You don't have it either? Can you try the refreshing? Okay. Vice Chair O'Carroll, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Willick, how do you vote?
Aye.
The motion passes with 4 ayes.
Should we keep the action items in order? Okay. So action item C1, A1,
Action item is to consideration and recommendation to the City Council, the revised proposal from artist laureate Katie Krantz regarding Phase 2 of a temporary art project at 11029 Washington Boulevard.
So unfortunately, Artist Laureate Krantz was unable to be here tonight and sends her apologies. But however, the Artist Laureate Subcommittee met last week to discuss the revised proposal by Artist Laureate Krantz. The proposal that's included in the staff report, I think, reflects the feedback from the commission from our July meeting. As you can see, the proposed tile installation and the plan for working with the community are outlined in Ms. Krantz's proposal. Ms. Krantz notes several dates in which she plans to work with the community, including upcoming local festivals with a target date of late October, early November for a final community workshop. This final tile workshop will also seek to solicit feedback from the community on the future uses for the 11029 Washington Boulevard property. The final installation would be following this program. Staff will work to determine the best option for whether or not to install the tiles onto Wonderboard, which would mean that the installation itself is actually removable from the building if we wanted to install elsewise, or whether the tile will need to be installed directly to the building.
Are there any questions or comments? Vice Chair O'Carroll?
I don't know if anyone here can answer this. I really liked her idea of the vessels, and I liked her images. It gave me a better sense of what it would look like. I am concerned, unfortunately, about vandalism, and if someone damages or breaks the vessels, how that will impact the whole trapezoid, and if they're going to have to, take it down, and if it's going to be a bigger project. I don't know if anyone, Artist Laureate Subcommittee or anyone can comment on that. That was talked about.
I mean, it is always a possibility. We did talk about it in subcommittee. And I'm not sure really there's much we can do to protect it at this point. However, it is a temporary structure.
Sure.
So what I don't know is the integrity of the tile, right? I don't know the answer to that, whether if someone does break one of those three-dimensional vessels, if it's going to have an impact on the integrity of the mural within that pentagon or trapezoid.
So the proposal laid out by Ms. Krantz is the three-dimensional aspect of it is relatively close to the actual mosaic itself. So I don't think there's any risk of any very protruding element being broken down. One of the benefits of tile, which is why so much public art is tile, is the durability of that material. I think you'll also hear that in our next staff report, which is why it's so often chosen for these types of installations. So while there's always the concern that there's vandalism, it's one of the things that with glazed tile, you're actually dealing with something that's relatively graffiti-proof and also generally durable.
Okay, thank you. I have one other question. Was there any update on the memorial, or was that discussed?
I think that Ms. Krantz took the recommendations of the commission and put that into her revised proposal, which is a much more general and community collaborative proposal, and took all of your comments into consideration in her work.
Okay. Is the timeline for the memorial, I mean, I think it's a lot of work, and I think it's probably too much just for Katie, and I had suggested that she partner with Megan Odson, who runs Culver 878. Is the timeline for the memorial the same, or is it going to be separate?
There's no memorial component in her revised proposal. It's
Oh,
more of a community proposal, seeking feedback and messaging, and it's more of an individual proposal with each community members, and she plans to do the tile making at various festivals and then a concluding program on site at the end of either October or early November, but that's not implied in her proposal right now.
Okay, so there's no memorial plan?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
I just want to say thank you to Katie for taking the feedback from the commission and incorporating it in her uniquely creative way that she does, and I really think it's going to be beautiful. So I'm looking forward to the community events and to the event at the site as well.
Any other comments?
So I too really appreciated the proposal that I read, and I'm excited to see and participate in all the events.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Wallach. No more comments.
So the subcommittee, when they met, felt that because there was a sizable amount of comments at the last meeting, that we would again make an action item to propose that you recommend this Phase 2 project to council, and with the idea that the upcoming September meeting would be where this would be considered. You will note that there is a different dollar amount than the previous staff report, slightly higher, but also within the framework of our temporary art budget.
Thank you. So should I start a motion? Motion to accept the consideration and recommendations to the City Council, the revised proposal from artist laureate Katie Krantz regarding Phase 2 of a temporary art project at 1110 29 Washington Boulevard.
Lee, I have completely lost my screen for the agenda. Do you know how to I can get it back?
Is it gone to sleep?
I have all sorts of other icons up.
At the bottom, there's a little G for Granicus. Do you see that one?
I see that. Okay, thank you.
Did that work?
I'm finding it now, thanks.
Oh,
Okay. So, moved by Chair Williams, seconded by Commissioner Fleischer. Please start voting on your screen if you can, otherwise I'll call out any names that can't vote on the screen. No. It was hers, right?
Yeah.
Huh. Commissioner, Vice Chair O'Carroll, how do you vote?
Aye.
I'm sorry, the screens are not working. I don't know why. And Commissioner Willick?
Aye.
And the other commissioners have voted with the screens, and the motion passes with 4 ayes.
great. Okay. Action item A2, consideration of recommending Sonia Romero as the artist for the art component of the Farragut Connector project to the City Council for approval. 2, recommending the approval of $6,000 artist budget estimate to complete the art component for the Farragut Connector project. And 3, $10,000 to create and install the tribute to the area's racetrack history within the Farragut project.
Good evening, Commissioners. So I'm going to read the staff report regarding this action item. So in our meeting last month, I had mentioned that at the time we weren't quite ready to officially announce the winning artist for the art component of the Farragut Connector project. Tonight, however, we are. I'm very happy to introduce Sonia Romero to the Cultural Affairs Commission, who is here tonight. And I would like to announce that Mrs. Romero, who is in attendance, is the winning artist for the Art Commission. So Sonia, would you like to join us by getting up to the podium? Thanks. So Mrs. Romero is a Los Angeles-based artist who has extensive experience, particularly in public art. She had received her BFA from Rhode Island School of Design. To date, she has completed 15 combined permanent and temporary public art commissions throughout Southern California. Her artworks have been shown throughout the U.S. and are in the collection of LACMA, Cheech Marin Center for Chicano Art and Culture, of the Riverside Art Museum, Smithsonian American Art Museum, to name a few. Recent solo exhibitions include a mid-career retrospective at Laban Art Gallery, that's on the campus of Loyola Marymount University, and an upcoming solo exhibition at Catalina Museum of Art and History in summer 2025. And correct me if I'm wrong on that. So on Wednesday, July 10th, 2024, Mrs. Romero and the other two finalists had individually presented their original art concept to city staff, Cultural Affairs Commission Chair Brenda Williams, and the Artist Selection Committee. After a lengthy discussion and a productive discussion amongst the entire group, the three reviewers had voted Mrs. Romero as the winning recipient based on her original art concept, presentation, and qualifications. So the selection committee unilaterally felt that Mrs. Romero's idea was the most appropriate and encompassing, capturing all crucial elements for a well-conceived concept. I think I'm going to kind of give her the opportunity to talk about her design, if you want to. If not, I actually have something written as well, and so.
Sure. So the design is based off of the neighborhood surrounding Carlson Park. And it's referencing the racetrack that began as a horse racing track and then moved into a car racing track in the 20s and is now residential. And I was just drawn to this historical fact because the shape of the street, which you can see in the curve here, still echoes the racetrack. And I thought that was a really interesting and unique aspect to the neighborhood. And the outer ring represents the Bayona Creek, and the center of the circle is representative of the center of Carlson Park. And it's a tile mural design that's meant to be as you enter into the Farragut connector.
Oh, and let me just advance this here. Just wanted to give you some details. I mean, please note that this is not the final design. This was the original art concept that Mrs. Romero proposed. Now, in terms of the influences she mentioned, coming from multiple sources, Bayona Creek, the Speedway history of the area, and also the single-family homes, as well as graphics from vintage toys and the spinning discs, such as the phenakistoscopes. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And so in her technique, and I think, Mrs. Romero will probably be able to better explain than I will. She'll be using the Serta Sika tiles as an installation. The method, it originated in Persia during the 1400s. So Mrs. Romero is going to be using this technique, which basically is the application of thin bands of waxy resist to maintain color separation between glazes during firing. And so this technique prevents different colors from running together and keeps the colors in a designated area, creating a sense of delineation or definition to her drawings. And so for the fabrication of these individual tiles, Mrs. Romero will be working with Tile Guild, a local company. And the artist has completed 4 tile mural projects in the past, so Mrs. Romero is quite familiar with all stages of this process. And so in terms of the budget and the timeline, the total budget for this project is $70,000, 60 of which will come out of, for the artwork itself. And that, that would obviously include like artist fees, insurance, and other fees, fabrication, installation, contingency. And then the 10,000 will be for the tribute or any potential community engagement activities. And it's up to Mrs. Romero if she wants to do that. And so we want to kind of have some buffer. In terms of the projected timeline, we're thinking of, if this gets approved and with the city's approval, city council's approval, we'll get into a contract with Mrs. Romero, and then she can begin to start fabricating, designing. So the art design will come in September, October of this year. Material samples, we probably would like to look at the different samples before we go into full production. So that will probably be in October, November. And then fabrication will take, a number of months from November 2024 to May 2025. And then the installation will take approximately 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks. And we plan to complete the project by June 2025 of next year. And so I guess tonight we're just seeking the Cultural Affairs Commission's full support and recommendation of Sonia Romero as the artist for the art component to City Council for approval at their September 23rd meeting. So if the City Council approves the project to move forward, staff will proceed with finalizing a contract agreement with Mrs. Romero, and then staff will work in tandem with Mrs. Romero, overseeing the design, fabrication, and installation of the project. So city staff and Mrs. Romero, happy to receive any comments and feedback and to answer any questions you may have.
So I'd like to open this up to commissioners for comment. Commissioner Willett?
So congratulations. I really love the proposal. And I'm just curious in terms of, I guess that was more of a sketch. How did, just in terms of previous public art works that you've made, how often do you change things and what sort of determines that for you?
Well, I think that what this sketch really provides you is the concept. Now, I can go in, maybe do some more drawing updates. I spent a limited amount of time working on this, and now I can just go in and refine my drawings. And I had received a little bit of feedback from my presentation, and so there were like some small tweaks that I could add and that, we had taken notes on. Possibly still open to some community feedback for like small tweaks, but this shows you the concept. Yeah. And I might also be tweaking the colors.
They're just examples of,
Thank you, by the way, so much for coming
I
tonight.
will
It's
confirm.
always nice to meet the artist, and so we really appreciate you appearing. And I love it. I think it's really enchanting. I love how you incorporated the race horses and the race cars, and I can't wait to see it there. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Commissioner Fleischer?
So I will echo that. Thank you for coming tonight. It is one of my favorite things that we do on the commission when the artists come and talk to us about their work. So I really appreciate you coming here tonight. I love it too. I do use that Farragut connector. Of course, I'm not using it right now. I run through it almost every day. So I'm going to really look forward to seeing that every time I go by. I love the educational, historical component to it. We have Hope Parrish here today from the Historical Society, and I know that this is something that as the entire community goes through there, so many people will not know that it used to be a racetrack and a horse track before that, and it'll give just a new dimension to their own community. So the only comment that I would have, if you are planning to tweak any of the design, I would love to see some aspect of community in the drawing, especially for the homes. I don't know if with the technique, the cuerda seca, if that's possible. But that's, for me, the only thing that is missing, just a sense of, because that community is bustling. I mean, there's people walking their dogs and kids riding their bikes and playing basketball and neighbors talking to each other. So that's my only comment, but again, I will defer to the artist as whether that kind of thing is possible.
We had, in the presentation, we had discussed adding bicyclists and pedestrians, and I thought that was a good idea.
Great, I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Romero. You know, I loved your proposal. I thought it was well-researched. You discussed it really well, and I like the historic and sort of the pop art quality of the piece. And I really think it's going to be a bright spot on that walkthrough. So thank you so much for this project. I think it's going to be fabulous.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I have a question for staff about the community input, that last portion of it. Is that something being handled by cultural affairs, or what is that going to look like, if you even know? I'm just curious about it, because I think it's a great idea.
Oh, sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, I'm asking about that, the community, like a little commemoration of the project, right? That is in your budget, the $10,000 contingency. So what kind of, what would that look like, or what are you envisioning for that? I'm just curious about it, because it's a great idea, and I would just like to know a little bit more about what you're thinking.
I think we haven't quite gone down that road yet. I mean, it's up for discussion, and I feel like it's a question, or it's a discussion that we will probably have with Mrs. Romero as we work together through this project. And, you know, we have budgeted enough resources so that if there were any sort of public engagement activities or any sort of brainstorming, you know, something that can help with the tribute, you know, contribute to the tribute.
I'll just add, having sat through there, that similar to your comments about what a bustling and community-centered location it was, one of the jurors also spoke to that community feel, and that was definitely incorporated into that language for the staff report. So even though it hasn't been fleshed out, that was due to feedback from the community about wanting to have a community element.
Great. Yeah, and I love the public engagement part of it, and I know that that neighborhood will be very excited to participate. So I look forward to that.
Thank you. So, thank you so much, Mrs. Romero. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the consideration of recommending Sonia Romero as the artist for the art component of the Farragut Connector project, as well as approval of the $60,000 ARGIT budget and the $10,000 to create and install the tribute to the area's racetrack history within the Farragut project.
So moved, let me just make sure this is on. Moved by Commissioner Fleischer and seconded by Chair Williams. Vice Chair O'Carroll, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Willick?
Aye.
And the other commissioners voted on their pads. The motion passes with 4 ayes.
Congratulations. Thank you. We're going to discuss the potential revisions to the Culver City Municipal Code, Section 15.06.100 ET SEQ, relating to the Art in Public Places Program allocations, and 2, provide recommendations to the City Council as desired. May I have staff give a report?
Yes. Okay, so the past several months have been a steady chipping away at the research needed to provide the staff update for the commission regarding our APPP code and its fund allocations. While I provided a list to the commission at the last meeting of the intended research based on my findings of which cities and agencies had performing arts noted in their municipal code, it became evident quickly that many of those locations were not a good comparison to Culver City, either because they lacked a formal cultural affairs division, or because their programs were either limited or involved facilities and outside programming elements that didn't illuminate the questions asked by the commission in December and March. Ultimately, we went with a hybrid approach of researching numerous municipal codes and reaching out to the city, the county, and a number of cities such as Santa Monica, West Hollywood, and Pasadena, where the structures more closely mirrored our own city and it's in the division. My report is mostly drawn from long conversations with my counterparts in these places. The conclusions drawn are that most places employ a diversity of funding sources to support performing arts, including their general funds, cultural trusts, and outside funding support. Of those that most resemble Culver City, a formal grants program for supporting performing arts organizations was the preferred and best way to support a wide variety of quality programming. Of note was a comment from Santa Monica in my report, which discusses a shift in programmatic priorities after a large staff layoff during the pandemic. Quote, staff reported that the layoffs helped them to clarify their role as a cultural resource as opposed to a producing agent. This helped allay the worries of other local cultural organizations who felt that they were in competition with the city for audiences and funding, end quote. Perhaps the best model for comparison to Culver City came from my discussions with the county. The flexibility of their fund and how it is spent is of note, but so too is the fact they have not yet allocated and decided how their in lieu of fees could and should be spent yet, as the fund was only established in 2021. Their intention is to engage in a public feedback process, including sessions which will focus on building programming and an open process for selecting the service providers that will focus on building programming and an open process, that will oversee and produce that programming. I plan to follow their process and the outcomes it produces closely. It is not anticipated that their programming will be determined by a specific arts discipline, such as visual versus performing, but rather by a community input process that best meets the community interests and needs for programming. Given our own upcoming long-range planning work, there are a lot of possible parallel work that we could engage in as well. Tonight, the Commission is asked to reflect on the research and to make a recommendation to the City Council on whether to proceed with the municipal code updates and changes. Given the urgency of bringing the current CCMC subchapter pertaining to the Art in Public Places program up to date to reflect changes to standard arts language and best practices, staff recommends proceeding with the previously proposed ordinance updates as outlined in December 19, 2023 staff report. Staff recommends that future changes to the municipal code, including possible changes to artistic disciplines and funding allocations, should be considered after the Community Arts Equity Plan process has been completed and with a full understanding of budget implications and all potential funding sources.
Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? I'll start with you, Commissioner Willett.
So I enjoyed reading the revisions. This is all new to me, and I really appreciated how clear the language was, and some of the language in particular on the definitions of desirable qualities in the work that is rewarded, as well as those that are disqualifying for those works. I thought it was really well written and clear. I didn't have much in terms of revisional, like, language. I thought whoever worked on this did a great job.
Commissioner Fleischer?
I want to thank staff for doing all that research. I think it was me who put you up to that, so. But I really appreciate that, and I think all along I kind of knew that we were unique, right? And so thank you for saying that. Santa Monica is different from us in one exceptional way, in that they have the Broad stage, right? And so that we don't have something like that here in Culver City, except for the KDT, right? It's completely different kind of facility. So that's just something to keep in mind as we move forward. I am in complete agreement with doing the arts equity, the cultural plan first, which is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I think it's the right approach before we do anything more with the performing arts allocations, especially as we continue to work with the city in partnership with economic development, doing the incredible summer series. So we are having music. I know I would actually like you to speak a little bit to the jazz series that's going to be happening at the KDT. And hopefully we can have a model where we might have the music in the chambers in here. So things are happening, and I think this will all happen in its kind of an organic way once we do the community cultural plan. So I am good with accepting the revisions from December 2023.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair Williams. Do we have a timeline for the Community Arts Equity Plan?
I mean, we have it in our work plan for this year to begin that work. I think one of the major things I've been waiting for is the general plan update to be completed so that we can then engage our own work. And so I anticipate that we would have a subcommittee meeting on this and sort of roll out the process for how we would do this fairly soon.
Okay. And does LA County have a timeline for their process?
I think it'll probably be in parallel to our process, to be honest, because they have just now accumulated enough in their in lieu fund to actually start this process. They've been acquiring, as their program was launched in 2021, fees into this fund for for a few years. But really, they're going to let the community process guide how that spending is. And it'll be interesting to see how they do their process while we're doing ours as well. And I'm sure we can be in close contact with them, too, if there's lessons to be learned from both of us.
I'm sure there will be. So as a liaison for the Culver City Arts Foundation, I was asked on behalf of the Culver City Arts Foundation Board to read the following in relation to the proposed ordinance. Dear Commissioners, in the proposed changes to the Art in Public Places ordinance, which you are considering tonight, I would like to draw your attention to Section 15.06.115, Cultural Trust Fund created, subsection A4 on page 10, which states that one of the purposes of the fund is, quote, for the acquisition and improvement of real property for the purposes of displaying artwork or to be used as a cultural facility, parentheses, new language being suggested, which has been or may be subsequently approved by the city. While the ability to utilize these funds for the construction of a municipal art gallery or performing arts center is laudable and one that Culver City Arts Foundation enthusiastically supports, it is impractical because not enough funds could be generated from any one development to construct a sizable facility. And the proof is that this aspect of the ordinance has never been utilized for that purpose. The Culver City Arts Foundation would like to see an expansion of this purpose by creating a provision in the ordinance that would allow cultural trust fund fees from any individual development to be able to be pooled with fees from other developments for the use in constructing a significant and appropriate municipal art gallery or performing arts center. By pooling these fees, there will be sufficient funds to construct the arts facilities that Culver City needs. Without pooling, it will not happen. So that's from Jim Clark, the chair and the board of the Culver City Arts Foundation. Any comments?
Sorry, I'm not sure that we can simply do that, given the way the ordinance is presently written. And that's a big change that I think is not wise to do before we've embarked on our arts equity plan.
Right. I think, though, I think it's a really great idea, and, you know, rather than having all these little individual developer funds, I think it's a great idea for us to, alas, finally get that municipal arts center that we've been talking about all this time. So maybe that's something we can keep in mind when we do the community arts equity plan, and then hopefully incorporate it into the ordinance.
So I have a question. Are the funds not pooled now? I mean, my understanding is that the funds, aren't they put into a trust and they're pooled? So what exactly is being proposed, or?
Well, I think when, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, a developer, when they put in their fees, their percentage, they have three choices. One is to create a piece of public art. One is to give the money back into the cultural trust fund for a pool, or three, to create a cultural facility. But of course, if it's one developer, that one facility, as they're saying, would only be a very small thing. So I think there would need to be an official mechanism so that we can pool from all the developers to hopefully move forward with the Municipal Arts Center, which, you know, I think Culver City is so deserving of.
So, I mean, you are correct in that the in lieu of fees are pooled. And generally, it is the larger developments that opt to do art on site. So I'm not sure, I guess what they're suggesting would be a change to encourage.
I think their idea is to earmark a certain percentage of each developer's fees to pool together for this one project, as I understand it. And maybe that's something we can talk about more with the Community Arts Equity Plan.
So that would mean changing language in the ordinance, because then we have to make it very clear in the ordinance what the developer's choices are. So that gets complicated. And again, it is definitely something we should address and make sure that we check with the lawyers and that this is all possible to do, because it is a good idea, but I'm concerned because the Art in Public Places program is for art that is on the property. So anyway, I'm not a developer. I can't go get into their heads, but I definitely think it's something that we need to proceed with caution.
Right, but if the fees, if the developer chooses not to do their own public art and they're putting it back into the cultural trust fund at that point, then I think we would have more say in how the money is used. And maybe at that point, then we can earmark it, some of it to pool for this art center.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the work that you did to put this together. That was quite a bit of work and quite a lot to read. Well, we've discussed the potential revisions. So is there a motion to be made?
The motion, I think, would be as follows. Recommend amending the Culver City Municipal Code, Section 15.06.100 at SEC, relating to the Art in Public Places Program ordinance as presented in the attachments, and continue to investigate additional changes related to allocations and artistic disciplines? That's the part I'm not sure about. Just related to allocations, period, maybe?
Well, I don't think we even need to put in for allocations at this point, you're basically, if you're taking the recommendation, you're recommending the changes from the December 19th revision that's redlined, which I know was a sizable amount of work by many of the commissioners currently up here, and I appreciate that. And I think that pursuing any further change outside of those would be something that would be done through a long-range planning process. But that in the expedience of time and how much work has gone into the revision as they are from the December 19th would be whether or not you recommend those revisions proceed and propose that to council.
So would you repeat the motion, please,
I'm going to add in.
so that it's clear?
Yep.
Thank you.
And also, it doesn't go directly from you to council. It goes from the commission to the city attorney, right, Jesse? Sorry, any ordinance changes, then to city council, then back to the city attorney, and then back. I know it has to go before council twice. What's the?
The city attorney will review the proposed ordinance language change, if they haven't already, before it goes to city council, in case they have any concerns.
Okay.
But once the city council approves it, it wouldn't need to go back to city
I thought it
attorney.
had to go twice. No?
An ordinance, if it's an ordinance, yeah, it needs to be introduced and then adopted. So it would have
Okay,
to
I
go
see.
twice. But it doesn't need to go back to the city attorney's office.
Okay, got it. Okay. So the vote is recommend amending the Culver City Municipal Code, Section 1506, relating to the Art in Public Places Program Ordinance as presented in attachments from December 19th, 2023.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think that's right.
Yep. So that would be the motion.
So I'll make that motion.
Okay, I need to. So, let me see how I do this. Okay. So moved by Commissioner Willick. Does anyone else have the, okay, and seconded by Chair Williams. Approve. Okay. If you can vote on your screen, please do. Vice Chair O'Carroll, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Willick?
Aye.
Oh, here it comes. Here it comes. Okay, and the other commissioners voted on screen, and the motion passes with 4 ayes.
Not on the agenda?
I haven't gotten any requests. Let me just check on WebEx. No? No additional comments.
Can I request items from staff and then commissioners?
Okay, I'm going to go first. I wanted to mention that city ID cards are available for commissioners. They're not currently required, but there have been recent security upgrades at City Hall, so they may be required in the future. If you don't already have an ID card and you want to get one, please let me know. I will set up a meeting for you with HR staff to do that. Also, the Performing Arts Grant Program guidelines and applications for 2025 performances are now posted on the city website and open for applications. I've been reaching out to many potential applicants. I'm having lots of conversations, plus 3 public workshops about the grants. The deadline is September 12th. I anticipate there will be many applications, and the maximum grant request this year is $12,000. And there's one grant-sponsored performance coming up this weekend. It is Angel City Chorale at Fiesta La Bayona on Saturday, August 24th, starting at 11:15 a.m. Angel City Chorale is a large and energetic singing group, and they are just one of the many enjoyable performances featured in the entertainment tent during the 3 days of Fiesta. They are the only one that is sponsored by this grant, but there's lots of other performances. And thank you to Commissioners Mascali and O'Carroll for serving on that Fiesta Entertainment Subcommittee. Then in September, there's going to be 2 additional sponsored performances, one by Brazil Arts Connection at the Brazil Cultural Center on West Washington, and another by Contratiempo at the Venda Museum. And information about all the grant-sponsored events are posted on the city website, in the community calendar, promoted by email, and on the city's social media. And I hope you will all be able to attend a performance in the coming months. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go next. It has been a very busy month, but I want to give a quick update on some of the things we've been up to as a division. We started the process of reorganizing the internal files for cultural affairs, which includes several decades of records and many, many filing cabinets worth of paperwork and materials, including a lot of really interesting conservation materials that we found. That is a multi-stage process, and has been a lot of work. I've attended many of the Thursday night summer concert series events, and I just wanted to give a huge thank you to Edgar Varela for his amazing work on this very popular program. Thank you to the commissioners who have attended. And I would also like to recognize the support and partnership of the Culver City Arts Foundation, who has shared table space with us all summer during these events. And thank you to Commissioner Fleischer and former Commissioner Wisnowski-Stalin for their input into the performers that were selected for this year's program. I also attended the July Culver City Arts Foundation board meeting, where I received a lot of feedback from the foundation on its past and future partnerships with cultural affairs in the city. And I look forward to working with them and the commission in the coming year, and will be in touch with the Culver City Arts Foundation subcommittee to discuss some of the feedback and possible next steps on some of the topics raised in their July board meeting. The Artist Laureate Subcommittee met recently to discuss the process for the formal evaluation of the Artist Laureate program. The evaluation will research and compare other like programs around the country. It will include a public feedback and program awareness component, as well as a more focused stakeholder session with an outside facilitator. That is the plan for right now. We are aiming for late October for the stakeholder session, so please let us know your availability during the last week of that month. We hope to have feedback and report to the commission before our December meeting in order to launch the next cycle of the Artist Laureate program. As was approved by the commission in May, the next Artist Laureate's term is anticipated to begin July 2025. A few other upcoming programs and activities. There is a fall creative economy mixer and program that is being planned with economic development. This event will focus on tech, and we will let you know when the Confirm Tate and program very soon. And thank you to Commissioner O'Carroll for her input into the program and to the future creative economy programs and mixers that we will be planning. As mentioned by Commissioner Fleischer, it will be a October Sundays jazz series at the KDT. We had a great meeting with them about adding that new program. It was part of the Economic Development Department's work plan, and happy to see that it's going to happen this upcoming fall. As you know, Fiesta La Bayona begins this weekend, and I look forward to attending my first fiesta. And thank Commissioners Mascali and O'Carroll for their input on the performances scheduled for this weekend. Tomorrow, I will be headed to West Hollywood to serve on a performing arts grant panel for the day. I'm thankful to Lee Lawler, who on my first day of the job said, you should do this, and it's finally happening. It will also be really interesting after our recent Performing Arts Subcommittee meeting to compare their process. And I just want to thank that subcommittee for their hard work on our upcoming 2025 Performing Arts Grant Cycle. Thank you to Councilmember Dan O'Brien for alerting me and others to the first ever C37 Art Funding and Resource Convening, which is hosted by Congresswoman Sydney Kalmliger Dove. I'm probably going to pronounce that wrong. I don't know my California politicians as well as I should yet. On Thursday, August 29th, I will be in attendance, and perhaps some of you. We will hold our November commission meeting in an alternate location due to planned construction in the council chambers. We are hoping that this meeting might include inviting some of our new performing arts grantees. And if commissioners have any suggestions for a location for this dual meeting reception purpose, please be in contact with me or Lee Lawler directly. We have a few meetings internally to discuss the Olympics, including a successful closing ceremonies program on August 11th that happened at the Culver Steps. And I wanted to thank my colleagues in economic development, as well as Jesse and the city manager's office for their hard work on that event. For September, we're working on a staff report to gather important feedback and ideas for the commission regarding the ways that cultural affairs will engage with LA 28 and the games. And I look forward to working with the Olympics subcommittee to refine some of our ideas in time for that meeting. And finally, I would like to call out the hard work of Lee Lawler on the various updates, workshops, and refinements to the performing arts grant process, and for their careful attention to the many financial and budget processes inherent to ensuring the success of the Cultural Affairs Division. Lee is nothing short of on top of details, and I truly appreciate it. I would also like to thank Sam Lee for his work shepherding the Farragut Connector project and the many conservation and repair contracts currently in progress that were long delayed that contribute to the upkeep of our permanent art collection, and his work in making sure we are on top of our permit fees as well as the process for working with developers as they either pay into the fee or commission artwork on site. The past few months have highlighted to me how much the work of this division is to be vigilant and exacting with all of our programs and administrative processes. That is all I have.
There is one other date I should bring to your attention, which is the next city council meeting, August 26th. They will be doing recognitions of former commissioners, including Commissioner Janine Wisniewski-Stalin. If you want to attend in support of her, please do.
I just have one small thing to add. On August 11th, I helped just at the closing Olympics ceremony watching party. That was really fun. I think the Econ Development did a really amazing job in terms of organizing. It was a great turnout. We had games, board games, like shooting hoop games and things like that, in addition to serving free popcorn and lemonade. And I helped with serving the lemonade for that event. So that was really fun. Yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Commissioners, I'll start with Commissioner Willig.
So I just want to thank my fellow commissioners as well as staff for being so patient as I sort of get my sea legs up here. That first meeting last month, I'm hoping that you had a similar experience of being up here and thinking, what have I gotten myself into, and all the procedures. So I really appreciate everyone's patience and support. I will be attending the Culver City Arts Foundation's board meeting tomorrow via Zoom, and I'll report back on that.
Commissioner Fleischer?
Yeah, so I've been to a bunch of performances this summer. Our grant-funded performances at Carlson Park with the Culver City Public Theater. I saw that the front page is the first time in a while that they have done an adult show, and it was quite good, and there were a lot of people there, and so I'm really proud of their progress. I also, just this last weekend, went to the Actors Gang show, a comedy of ours, which was a pirate-based story, and I loved how they weaved in Culver City iconic places, including Village Well. And so anyway, it was great, huge crowd. They gave out popsicles at the end. It was wonderful. I also, on Saturday, attended the Contrapunctus concert over at the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And I went especially to hear the young violinist Aubrey Oliverson, who is really phenomenal. She is going far. She already is working a lot over in Europe, and it was just a wonderful concert, and another group that I'm proud that the Performing Arts Grants Program supports, and how they've grown over the last few years is really wonderful to see, especially for a niche music ensemble. I've also been attending the summer music concert series. Seeing Sally there has been great. And they've been really wonderful. The community feel is excellent. Everyone's just very happy and enjoying the beautiful evenings. I think we have 2 more coming up. There's like an Afro-Cuban group this week, and then I don't know what the name of it, but I know it's the guy who was the SpongeBob SquarePants guy, but I don't remember the name of the group. That's going to be the last week, and so a lot going on with Lee for all the subcommittee meetings. We've seen each other a lot in this last month, and I appreciate my fellow commissioners for all the input. It's really helpful and wonderful. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair O'Carroll?
Thank you. First of all, I'm thrilled to hear about this jazz series. What a great idea. I'll look forward to that. And I too really enjoyed attending the summer concert series, and Edgar Varela has done a brilliant job organizing them. You know, it's such a great unifying experience for the community, and I love how it's activated downtown and the downtown businesses, and it's just been a tremendous success. And yes, we have 2 more concerts coming up. I unfortunately could not attend the Olympic closing ceremony we had here, but I did see, you know, in Paris, they set up their City Hall Square as a watching party, and I hope we can do that too. That'll be fantastic, along with, of course, events at the Steps. Yes, looking forward to Fiesta La Bayona. It was a lot of fun selecting entertainment, and there's a wide variety of genres, and I hope everyone can make it for at least part of the fiesta, and hopefully the weather won't be quite as hot as some other years. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. I plan on attending Fiesta de la Balona, and I'm looking forward to that. That's always a fun thing to do. I always spend way too much money there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and that's all. Thank you. Thank you, all staff, for all the work you do. I know some of these things are challenging, and Sally, you just got here, so thank you very much.
Does anybody see a motion? I'm gonna start it. Huh. Okay, I wasn't able to get a first and a second to adjourn. I'm not sure why it didn't give me that option, but I'll just ask you to start voting on your screen if you can, and then I'll call names. Vice Chair O'Carroll, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Willick?
Aye.
Okay, and Chair Williams and Commissioner Fleischer also voted aye on their screens. The meeting is adjourned at 8:04. Thank you.